The future of comedy, that's what's coming up on The Art of Bombing, episode 142.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Now podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Art of Bombing. I'm Dan Bublich Jr. here with you today. It is Friday, June 19th, 2020. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I hope you had a fantastic week, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We made it through the week. Comedy's starting to open up a little bit. Things are starting to look good. It's Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth to those of you that celebrate this important holiday. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I hope you have a great and safe celebration of this important day. And it is important because right now our country is in a wrong state of mind, and it needs to change. Racism has been plaguing our country for too many years, and it's time to step up and do our part to make the world better and get rid of racism, because it doesn't need to exist. We all bleed the same. We're all the same inside. We have thoughts, and we have feelings, and we have opinions, and we want to just work and survive and make our way through life. You know, we want to just be with the people we love, and we want to try to just do our part to survive, because that's what it's all about. We're all just trying to survive, and some people have it harder than others because of skin tone, because we have let that happen, and that is absolute crap. We need to change it. We need to do our part, and we need to come together, because united we stand, divided we fall. Our government is telling us that while they're trying to keep us divided. Keep that in mind. Our government is trying to divide us, and they're using racism as a good tool to do it, because it's working right now. And I don't mean to be a downer. I try not to get in politics in this, but I'm pretty upset about the things that are going on in our country. There are black men hanging from trees. That is not okay. You know what that's called? That's called lynching. Lynching. Black men are being lynched in modern day society. And if you're okay with that, then you really need to take a look at yourself in the mirror and make some changes, because we all need to do better, and we all need to be better to one another, because at the end of the day, we are all human, and we all deserve to be treated humanely. Humanity needs to come together, and we need to be humane to each other. Equality is not... We shouldn't have to beg to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody that is born should have that right. That isn't even, it shouldn't even be a right. It should just be because we're human. So do your part, get involved, and be on the right side of history. That's, and I heard this on the Pen Pals podcast the other day, and I'm going to shout it out. It was a great quote, because it really spoke to me. They said, nobody has ever been on the wrong side of history by fighting for human rights. Think about that. Let that sink in. The next time you're about to post an insensitive opinion or a feeling or a meme or anything like that, keep that in mind, because it is important. And like I said, we need to come together. We need to come together, and we need to do better. All right, I'm done ranting. I hope you're okay with that rant. I needed to get that off my chest. Did I say who the guest was? I probably did, but I'm going to say it again. It's a good friend of mine, Zach Miller, dog. And you will get that joke once the episode starts. But before we get into that, I have some other actual business to take care of for the podcast and for comedy, because comedy is starting to come back, which is fantastic. Comedy is starting to come back slowly but surely, so that there's signs of hope. Tonight, if you're listening to this on the day of the podcast release, which is Friday, June 19th, 2020, I will be participating in a comedy show, a social distancing comedy show at the Hamel VFW in Plymouth, Minnesota, presented by Peak Entertainment. Show starts at 8 o'clock. There's no cover. Just if you decide that you want to go, make sure you contact ahead of time and make sure there's seating, because it has to be reduced seating, half capacity. We can't fit everybody in, unfortunately, because we got to follow the rules to be inside, because there's still a pandemic going on. Yes, there's still a pandemic. So if you're not taking that serious, you better, because people are still getting sick, and we need to still be wary of that. Like, it's good that we're starting to go out and kind of slowly opening up, but we still got to be cautious. Keep that in mind. Just be cautious. Be safe. Because you know what? We want everybody to live. That's the whole point. So if you're not busy tonight, come see me do live comedy. All right. Before we get into that, the last part of business that I got is I have started a new Patreon specifically for the Art of Bombing podcast. I know if you're a big fan of this podcast and you've listened to a lot of episodes, I've went back and forth with Patreon, where I had it for a little bit for just the podcast, and then I switched it just to my comedy, and I went back and forth and back and forth. Well, now I have one for my comedy and one separately just for this podcast. So I've decided I'm going to give it another whirl. I've revamped it completely. I have great benefits. If you want to support the podcast financially, that's great. You don't have to, but you can go to the patreon.com/artofbombingpod. At the $5 subscription, $5 a month, you become part of the Art of Bombing Bomb Squad. You get early access to episodes. You're going to get video content that's not going to, I should say exclusive video content that only Patreons will have access to. I'll be doing a monthly Ask Me Anything, comedy related. So we'll be doing a monthly get-together where people can ask me questions about comedy. You know, if you listen to this podcast or you know anything about me, you know that I've done quite a bit of stuff as far as production side of comedy goes. So I do have quite a bit of knowledge in that. And then you'll also get an Art of Bombing sticker. Then, if you want, there's one other level. You can do the $10 level and become part of the Art of Bombing Super Squad level. You get all the same benefits at the $5 tier, plus you get a Sketchy Dan poster, and then I will be doing a quarterly meetup on Zoom with everybody that's at that level, and you'll get a shout out on the podcast, so you'll get your name shouted out and a big thank you, and so I would appreciate it. But like I said, if you don't want to support financially, totally understand. Just make sure you've subscribed, make sure you give us a 5-star review, and say some nice words. Leave a little blurb about how the podcast is helping you get better, to be a better performer and or a better human, because that's what we're all trying to do. At least I hope that's what we're trying to do, is be better humans. So with that, we're going to get into this episode. Thanks for listening to the long intro and my little rant. Again, just a reminder, just a little takeaway. Do your part to be better. Be a good person. Kindness doesn't cost us anything. So be kind and love all our people. Love everybody. That's what it's all about. Love more, hate less. All right, here's my conversation with Zach Miller. Enjoy.
Good. Well, I hope it helps you fucking get the shine you deserve, bro. You're one of the motherfuckers that has put in a lot of work in this comedy game, and like real work, as in like understanding how the people get value and how you actually make artists fucking be first and not fucking beer companies. And and I fucks with you gigantically, bro. So I'm glad you're ahead of the game, because you deserve to be.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to finally get to do this. I'm a little sad we didn't get to do it in person, but it is what it is.
We'll do the next one in person, bro. At least we got one.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
If you think I'm not touring ASAP, you're fucking crazy. And the touring is I can actually tour now. I got cities waiting for me for once.
That's always good.
I mean, we ain't filling no arenas or nothing, but I could get booked in at least 10 to 15 markets right now. So that's great news.
That's always good. You went a long ways as far as going from mostly producing and booking to now you're more focusing on being a comedian, right?
Well, at least
you're still
at least from a front facing position I am, but behind the scenes I'm doing a shit ton of production work, especially since quarantine. I've had to put on my producer hat a lot.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, I've after a long run and producing a lot of shows, I've positioned myself as a talent and a producer rather than just a producer. So yeah, I'm stoked for that. It's called a lot of stage time, bro.
Yep. That always helps.
No doubt. And that's why, as much as that, my job at the Palace could be frustrating, I wouldn't trade it for anything because it's where I cut my teeth and they're sharp.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it helps too to have all the contacts that you do from producing.
Oh,
that way too, I imagine.
No doubt. I built a gigantic Rolodex from booking the Palace. So that's the give and take. I built a gigantic Rolodex, and they got a gigantic they got known by every comic in the country, basically. Any comic who's playing the San Diego market knows about the Comedy Palace. That certainly wasn't the case when I got there. I was in the LA market I didn't even know the place had been around for probably 4 years before I heard about it. And I was a fucking guy who managed talent and produced shows.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people didn't know about it because they kind of kept it a secret. Also,
no fucking doubt. I won't say the comic who told me about it. But right after he told me about it, he said, "Don't tell anybody."
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I heard a lot of stories.
I don't want to start talking shit on shit.
I'm not talking shit. It doesn't. I was just gonna say, all that was before my time too. I just heard a lot of stories about the place before you came in and took over the booking and stuff.
And it was run. It was run by guys who are still in the game. It was run by fucking Robert and Sean and those guys who are all great dudes. And Robert's done a fucking amazing job keeping the Madhouse open all these years. Yep. And I pray to God they're still open after this because Robert's one of the few motherfuckers who gets it and takes care of, and he does it for comics. Period. And,
absolutely.
And I think that's to be commended always. So I'm just saying I took the Palace a long way, and it took me a long way, but it was we had our run. And I'm sick. I hope I get to play there again. I don't know what their game plan is, but I hope that stage gets rocked again in the future a whole bunch. It's a great stage.
I hope a lot of clubs get rocked again. I'm really worried about comedy in general after this. There's going to be. I'm afraid there's going to be less stage time for people just because, there's going to be less venues and you're going to have just the same amount of comics trying to get that stage time. So there's still going to be.
No. You're not going to have the same amount of comics. You're going to have more comics. And then you're going to, because there's going to be more people with no jobs and fucking no real path. So they might as well chase their fucking dreams. I've watched this already, bro, a couple times. And it's like I watched the economy crash in 2008 from inside the comedy game, and I entered the comedy game right after 9/11. I mean, I was I wasn't in comedy yet, but I was in the entertainment business in 2001 when the fucking towers crashed, and I was in Manhattan. So, I've seen how this fucking business reacts to big traumas like this, and comedy's not going to get any smaller. It's just going to change. That's why you got to be ahead on streaming and whatnot and the next level of tech, because I assure you the new comics coming to the game will be. There will be a strictly digital space for comedy. Then there will be live spaces. The big ones, I don't know how they're going to come back or what they're going to morph into, but in theory, I don't see how our whole country just ditches all our large live venue spaces. There's thousands of them, and I don't know what you do with the space except, fill it with homeless or sick people, or both, or something. I don't know what you do with that space if it doesn't eventually become live entertainment space again. And I think eventually there will be a vaccine. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to take time, but, hopefully it will. But, I mean, there's a lot of smaller clubs. Like a lot of the bigger clubs and the bigger event spaces, they're going to be fine. They probably have the money to be able to bounce back, not going to be an issue. But you have a lot of littler comedy clubs throughout the U.S. that I think are not necessarily going to come back.
No, but they'll come back, and the people who ran them will come back in some shape or form if they want to be in this business. Just because you end one lease and close one live event space doesn't mean when it makes sense again you can't lease another space and paint the walls and add chairs and open another club, and they will.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that. That's a good way to look at it. To stay positive.
But I also think, as that transition happens, everybody's going to be digitizing more, and then the future is a hybrid of the two.
I absolutely believe that too. I
think anybody who's fucking smart already knows it.
Yep. I've had some conversations with people about that, and that's kind of what I think. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see both live and digital comedy, and I think
those guys who spent all that time, Sammy Obeid and Steve Hofstetter, like the Nowhere Comedy Club and whatever Sammy Obeid's comedy club is called, they didn't do all that work to turn it off. They're going to they're going to keep doing it, and they're going to do live comedy as long as people are watching. Why not?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And this is an opportunity for comedy clubs that have the technology with them to use live streaming shows as a way for overselling. You know what I mean? So like if they sell out the club, they can open up digital tickets for a digital show so people can still see the show too.
Yeah, bro. I remember the first time I saw Tupac perform as a hologram, and that's when I realized that our performances are going to leave the live space at some point. Because that's just where tech's going. If Kevin Hart can sell 500,000 tickets out of 1 hour instead of 50,000, he's gonna, and that's that.
Oh, yep.
And so will every other comic who has the capability. So it's what's going to happen, period.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's how it works.
Yep.
And it might not happen exactly that way because things always change, and some new tech might come any fucking minute that changes the whole paradigm. So it's like, but all you can do is really, try and stay ahead the best you can and stay true to your voice and your art. The rest, we'll see what happens. How's your voice and your art doing, Booblets? Are you ripping these digital comedy clubs?
Oh, I'm doing my own stuff. I've been doing my own streaming and my own shows, stuff like that. I've been playing around with TikTok now too, and not for what most people use TikTok for. I'm using it for stand-up clips, and it's funny. I just started it the other day, and I've only got a few videos, and most of the videos that I put on there have more views than anything I've ever done on YouTube. So.
Yeah, it's because it's unsaturated, but TikTok doesn't fucking like me, dude. Every time I try and put something on there, they fucking kick me off and block it and, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, all the social media stuff, I don't know. Personally, I think it's temporary. I think when our children grab a hold of the reins, they'll see that type of internet interaction as unhealthy and outdated.
Yeah, well, hopefully they do. Honestly, I mean,
it's clearly unhealthy. It's just not outdated yet.
Yes, that's exactly it. It is very unhealthy.
I mean, I have negative feelings towards people that I shouldn't even know exist. A.
Yeah, right.
B, like you could fight with somebody on Facebook over fucking anything if you're in the right mode, bro.
Yep.
And that shit is a brain trauma and a fucking change to the way humans function. It is a new thing. That whole like thread trolling and fighting with strangers on the fucking internet and saying things to people and getting so heated the way people do over nothing. It's like, fuck, bro. That shit's dumb. It's so dumb.
Oh, absolutely. I find myself almost getting in little spouts with people, and I'm like, just fucking delete this and walk away from this.
Yeah. The second I feel like this could go anywhere whack these days, I just close the app and do something else, bro. Let me play some Boom Beach real quick, bro.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have a fucking good quality thing to say that I know, I wrote this the other day. First thing I do when I'm about to write on a thread is remember, A, the person I'm talking to might be drunk, high, or both. B, this is going to last for fucking ever on the internet. Whether you like it or not, unfortunately, it's still in Facebook server probably even after you delete that shit. We're just not dealing with that issue yet. And C, there's no point. There's no fucking point. It doesn't fucking matter. You're getting nowhere. It's just a waste of time, dude. It's a sickness. And it's part and parcel to a brainwashing exercise that the American people have been undergoing since fucking, I don't know how long, but it's been pretty intense since fucking Captain Trumpo head got in office. And I mean, like, I was using the internet pretty hardcore since, like, I've been using smartphone. We all have. Comics are like at the forefront of understanding this shit because part of the thing to be a comic is to have to delve into publicity and marketing as hard as you can.
Yep.
And so we've all been digging in these social media apps for fucking ever. So you know that after 2015, being on Facebook got way fucking different.
Oh, yeah. Way more stressful, for sure.
Like, way different. And that wasn't by fucking accident, bro. That shit was by design.
Yeah, I believe that.
Enemies of truth, enemies of civility, enemies of democracy. And I you know, that's, if you want me to qualify that, we need to have another podcast and I need to call some of my friends to help me with some of the details.
I believe you. I'm right on there with you, man.
I truly believe everything I just said. Without having to call somebody a terrible name who disagrees with me. If you disagree with me, cool. More power to you, Holmes. But I'm going to push it the way I think it needs to happen and teach my kids the way I think it's really happening, which is watch what YouTube tells you to watch. That's what I tell my kids. First thing YouTube tells you something about North Korea, tell your dad. That's what I told my kids.
Good plan. Good plan.
Hey, kids, if any video pops up about Russia, Iran, North Korea, American history, you let your dad know. If it's just about video games and cartoons, have at it.
Yeah, that's smart. You know, you make a good point, too, on smartphones and delving into social media, because honestly, if I wasn't in entertainment and comedy, I would not have a smartphone. I would have no real need for it. I really wouldn't, because outside of entertainment, that's the only reason I need it, so I can check emails when I'm traveling and so I can do the social media stuff or whatever. If I wasn't in comedy, I'd probably still be using a flip phone, and I'd be perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, and that's because you're happy in your own skin and your own humanity. I think too many of us aren't in some shape, form, or fashion, and these fucking smartphones help us fill that void massively. And I think that void's only going to get bigger the more we do this, you know, isolation, nationalization type trip we seem to be on right now. I think people are going to have bigger voids that can be filled by lies on a screen.
Yep. No, absolutely. And there's a lot of that shit. Lies are everywhere. But let's get into the art of bombing now that we've caught up a little bit. And oh, there you are, back. And I want to hear your story of a show where you felt like you bombed really bad, or it was just a bad show.
All right, so probably the hardest the most memorable bomb. Let's put it that way. I mean, I've bombed. We've all bombed. I've performed. How many shows? Probably like 3,500, 4,000 shows. I hosted about 3,000, many of which that were in very uncomfortable bar situations and alternative space situations. So have I talked to a room and no laughs happened thousands of times? So yes. But I don't always consider that bombing. Bombing is when you could be doing well and you're not. If the room's just cold, then, it is what it is. You're just performing for that space. Or if there's nobody's getting laughs. But this was not that. This was my third time doing stand-up. And my first 2 times doing stand-up were round 1 of Pittsburgh's Funniest Man competition at the Improv for 350 people, where I won that round. And then round 2, which was the finals of the Pittsburgh's Funniest Man competition at the Pittsburgh Improv for 350 people, where I won the whole competition my second time doing stand-up, which is like the worst way to start doing stand-up, right? So I'm like all hot, big dick in this Pittsburgh comedy scene. I know nothing about fucking stand-up, right? I'm just like, fuck y'all, dog. Second time, I'm the funniest dude in the city. And, but part of my prize was I got to open for somebody, like for a weekend as the MC. So I all of a sudden had to go from 5 minutes to 17 minutes because you did 12 up front and 5 in. This is what the manager said at the time, 12 up front and 5 in between the feature and the headliner, right? So I had to start building another 12 minutes of material. So I had to get into the Pittsburgh local comedy scene somewhat. So I went to this bar show. I forget how I found out about it or from who, but somebody referred me to this bar show, and I did my same 5 minutes. And it was probably, 30, 40 people spread around maybe a 60-seat room. Not a terrible room. The other comic, the local guys were fucking doing great. And they introduced me as the winner of the Pittsburgh's Funniest Man competition. I came up and performed my 5 minutes that had just crushed at the Improv. And then straight ate doo-doo cakes, bro. Just got like zero. I ran my 5 minute act. I was probably done in 2.5 minutes.
Oh man, that's the worst.
Or 3 minutes, and just ate doo-doo cakes and looked real dumb, and then got dirty looks from local comics, and then like I goddamn deserved, and then I forget how I got to that 17 minutes, to be honest with you. I drank a lot back then. I was a bartender. I think I just practiced on my own and then stretched it out with crowd work once I was back in front of a crowd. I didn't do a lot of local workout. That shook me, bro. Hard.
I'll bet. How did the weekend go with the headliner then?
It was great. I opened for Jeff Garcia. That's when I met Jeff Garcia, who I worked with for years after that. Because I was supposed to open for, what's his name? Old white guy, screams a lot. Lewis Black.
Oh, okay.
And
yep.
I was supposed to open for Lewis Black, but he had to cancel because of the MTV Movie Awards. So his fill-in was Jeff Garcia, an LA comic. And he was like, he gave me a lot of pointers. I ripped all weekend. They were good crowds. It's easy to rip at a fucking Improv if you've got any talent.
No, absolutely.
And any material, you know what I'm saying? They want it. They fucking paid to get in. They know where they're at. They think you're a star, even though you've only done comedy 7 times. at least back then, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's the difference between a good show and just a shitty bar show. You know, like a lot of times when people are at a comedy club, they're there to laugh. You know, that's what they want. They're not there to not be happy and not have fun. Where at a bar, they're probably just there to drink.
Some comedy clubs where fucking comics and had to drag the motherfuckers in just to be there. Yeah, they're not there to laugh and have a good time. But usually at the Improv, by overwhelming margins, especially back then on the weekends, when people paid for a ticket, it's much easier to make laugh because they definitely want to be there.
Yep, they're vested. That's exactly it. They're vested. A lot of them bar shows and, like you said, the free comedy shows, they don't give 2 shits because they didn't have to pay for anything. So they're just there.
And that's even I've worked we've all worked improvs when they're super packed. But they're packed with comps and it's fucking it's still not easy. A packed comp room is still like they'll fight you and not give up. If 40% of the crowd is talking, ouch.
Mhm.
And then that's when if you're a pro, you know how to shut them up, but there's what percent of the overall performing population? Like, let's say there's 1 million hours of stage time that happened in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of that stage time would you say was taken up by actual professionals?
By actual professionals? Well, I mean, that you gotta, that's tough because you got to kind of put parameters on what would be considered an actual professional. I mean, is it anybody?
Minimum 1,500 shows is an actual professional. 10,000 hours, you could argue, is an actual professional, an expert, somebody worth paying.
Okay. Then I would say that it's probably, and this is probably loosely, I would say under 10%.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if only 10% of mechanics who fix cars were professionals. Or 10% of doctors who perform medicine were professionals.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's what's crazy about our business. But the point is, you got to get to the point where if you understand it, it makes it a lot easier. Just because you call yourself a comic doesn't mean you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And when you get to the ability where it's easy to spot who's real and who's not, don't treat him as somebody who's insulting your profession. Treat him as somebody who's a fan aspiring to it. You know what I'm saying? and if you're mad at them because they're a fan of what you do, then you're a jerk and you're insecure.
Yeah.
You know what
absolutely.
I'm saying? Like, I'm not mad at these. I don't bitch about these open micers anymore. Or fuck it. I used to do that shit because I was insecure about my own career. But it's like, now I'm not insecure about my own career. So what do I look like fucking getting mad at you for wanting to be where I'm at?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a good point.
Because I pray for you for fucking wanting to do that. Because it's a tough road, motherfucker. But if you want it, fucking get it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't. That's the beautiful thing about it. Still, is that it's kind of like you gotta want it to get it. That's why I hear comics talking shit on fucking Dane Cook or this guy or that guy, and we could just use Dane Cook as an example. Leave out his personal life, leave out his fucking comedy, whether you like it or not. That dude is a professional stand-up comedian. He has mastered the craft of stand-up comedy. And if he ever bombs on a stage with a packed room, it's because he fucking wants to, homie. And you're just mad because he gets to work out new jokes in front of 300 people at Melrose, and you got to do it in front of 600 comics or 6 other comics who aren't paying attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dane Cook could rip a house anytime he fucking wants. You know how mean that fool's like all-time greats 15 must be? Good Lord.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. I mean, you're right, because it is easy for comics that are doing open mics to get pissed at shit like that. We're like, oh, supposed to be a professional and he's bombing it to whatever, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, he's earned the right too. Like he's been in the game for a long time.
Or they're mad at a guy who uses a guitar, or they're mad at fucking Carrot Top. You're mad at Carrot Top, bro? Listen, homie. If what Carrot Top does is so easy, if he's cheating by using props, why the fuck don't you get $10 million a fucking year from Luxor, stupid?
Yeah. Why aren't you doing Vegas every night of the week? Pretty much.
They're just it's just haters and scrubs, bro.
Where's your residency, buddy?
It's tough, man, and it's like. It's a long ass process, and I'm over here talking like I got a killer career, dog. I am poor. Fucking, I have zero net worth in essence, but I have a career, and my bills are paid, and my kids are fed, and I'm happy, and fucking, I like my life. So like, I consider that a fucking score. I do what I love for a living. That's fucking hard to say. I wake up and be creative and think about projects for a living. That's what I do. And I don't have to show up on anybody's fucking clock. I just got to handle my business. So from that perspective, I feel like I've had a successful career, but I'm not like killing it by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but it's
a couple wrong turns and it all go. And I'm fucking Zach Miller, the depressed guy who's paying child support and fucking, can't see his kids and, is living in another comic's fucking couch, so don't get it twisted.
I love it. I love how you just keeping it real.
Real as fuck, bro, because I've seen people have it all and lose it.
Oh, absolutely.
I've seen people have nothing and then 5 years later have it all and then keep it for 2 decades.
Yep.
And probably forever. It's hard to say.
Yeah, comedy is definitely one of them careers where and I suppose it's entertainment in general, but I see it more because I'm in comedy that somebody can have a lot and then instantly they don't. And it just because of a divorce or something like that, it's like all over.
or a bad money manager or, couple. Yeah, you get over leveraged on a certain asset. You don't understand how life works. You get fucked on your royalties. I mean, there's a million fucking ways that you can lose it all. That's not just entertainment. That's America. That's the fucking world. You know what I mean? But that's humans. But in general, in stand up, we have less security because there's no pension.
Yep.
And there's no pension because there's no boss. And this is a cowboy game. It always will be. And it almost has to be. That's the nature of the sport. Stand-up is not. It's as much as it is an industry. It's a discipline. You know what I'm saying? It's a certain fucking craft to be able to just with nothing else, be able to take a microphone or not a microphone, and fucking gather a group of people and gather their focus and make them laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And.
Yep.
It's a specific skill set. And it's also through running that craft and learning it, you learn how to fucking build characters. You learn how to tell stories. And those skills are valuable in a lot of other arenas other than stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
So stand-up is a training method. It's a performance style, but it's not necessarily a business. And you have to understand that. Mm-hmm. So, you have to understand how to turn your ideas and your fucking characters and your stories into something actual, something producible that you can replicate and protect.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
Well, and you're seeing that right now. Right now, you're seeing that because we're in a situation right now where there's not a lot of live stand up. I mean, it is slowly coming back, but a lot of people, when all this COVID happened and all these live shows went away, they were just like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And you can see the people who are like, "Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to adjust and I'm going to adapt and I'm going to keep creating. And then there's other people who are like, they're just stuck because they don't, they don't.
No, they want to blame somebody because they can't do it the way they did it. And they're not prepared for what's next. It took them so long to get where they got with how things were. But they didn't prepare for what's next. So now they're just mad that somebody took away the way things were. Well, dude, that's how it fucking goes, Holmes. It's been it keeps changing. It's going to keep changing. That's why you practice the core shit and get your character right and put in the work, and you do it because you love it, not because it makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. The bumming of bombing, the dreadful feeling when you do bomb. How long does that typically last for you now compared to when you started?
Yeah, we really went through a wormhole on that last question. That's tight. That was a long wormhole. What was the question? That was about the first time I bombed, and we went all the way?
No, what it was. Well, yeah. Okay, so the bumming of bombing, that's what I coined as that dreadful feeling when you bomb, that feeling after you bomb. And I like to know how it's changed as far as how long it lasts after you bomb compared to when you started to where you are now. Like, I imagine now, if you have a bad set or bomb, you don't seem like you're bothered by it. Whereas, when you were newer, it probably bothered you more.
Well, I rarely bomb. I haven't bombed in a fucking long time, be honest with you. And only because I get to luckily mostly only play pretty hot shows these days. And when I show up to mics, I do good because I'm entertaining the comics. Like, that's how I look at it. I'm performing for a bunch of rookie comics. Like, if I can't make them laugh, the joke's not funny. So, I mean, I do okay at those. And if I do bomb, I usually know why. You know what I'm saying? It's because I shouldn't have smoked that blunt right before I went up, or, which bombing is just like not ripping to me these days. If I don't have a great set, I feel like I bombed. And usually if that doesn't happen, I know why. It's because, like, again, I got too high at the wrong time, or, the fucking crowd was fucked up because some bitch just puked at the comic before me, or there's reasons. I just, no, I don't let it. It doesn't bother me for fucking a mouse fart minute, bro. It's just information. Why did I bomb, and how can I make sure that doesn't fucking happen again?
Yeah, which that leads to the next thing I like to talk about is, what do you do to analyze sets? Do you do anything? Like, do you record your sets and then listen back and take notes and do anything in particular?
No, I pretty much no. It's just I don't know. I guess I have a good noggin or whatever, but the feeling stays with me. Plus, I have a good workflow for my jokes. I mean, it's got to be weird getting back on stage after this, but I have enough material that I know will just trigger back in. I might just need a little set list or something for a couple shows. But also, usually that's what I do is I just run a set list before I go up, or at least a list of jokes I know I want to do that night, and then I just kind of riff it out from there. I have little blocks. I mean, that's why you do all those shows. You could wake me up out of bed and put me on stage, and I could do stand up like immediately. I don't have to think about it too much. But I do have set lists. If I have a new joke, I have like a running set list, and then I just practice it as many times until it's running right. You know what I mean? And then once it runs right, it just kind of sticks to memory. And I keep evolving it, till I've run the joke 100, 150, 200 times, and then lock it into the set wherever I want it, and then ditch an old joke. And then I always have kind of a ranking of like my best jokes, my 7, my 10, my 15, what do I add where? And then you get those certain gigs where it's like they throw you a curveball and you can't talk about a couple of things. So then you have to reshuffle it. But at the end of the day, it's like they're just cones. Sometimes I'll have a set and the crowd will be so delicious, you know, that my character in the room and just the introduction of us to each other becomes its own act.
Yep.
You know, crowd work in essence. But, you know, I use a mixture of crowd work and a bag of material to perform hopefully a unique experience for every person who sees me. I think that's what the best stand-ups do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting too, because you talked about the different sets too, like different times, and I feel like a lot of comedians don't realize that, where you have to have sets for different time slots, essentially, which different time slots is usually different scenarios, you know, like you need a really good type 5 in case you need to do an audition for a late night show, or, you know, or you might need a good 15 to host and whatever, you know, things like that.
Plus, after you run a joke a certain amount of times, like, or a block a certain amount of times, like, I have a clean version of my kids and family block, and I have a dirty version of my kids and family block. And it's basically just like flicking a switch. Certain tags show up, certain tags don't. You know what I'm saying? When I have to put it in clean mode, I do certain tags I don't do in dirty mode, but then to delete other tags I do. But the main jokes stay true to my character. It's the same joke.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's telling my story and introducing myself to an audience, which is all stand-up really is to me. For a character comic, which is kind of how I've built my act. If you're a roast comic or a fucking, I guess, crowd work comic or whatever, I mean, I do crowd work, but I'm saying if that's your bag, just like, or, you know, you're a hack comic who does hack shit, that's your thing, like, that's what they do. I always tried to, you know, make my act as true to who I am. Like, I'm always the same dude, if you'll notice that about me.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether I'm raising my children or I'm fucking performing stand-up comedy or doing a podcast or acting these days or whatever, I'm the same dude. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that was kind of the idea, was to mesh. And I taught comedy from that same perspective. I told everybody, your most valuable asset is you. You are unique. I don't give a fuck how boring you think you are. If I ask you enough questions, we'll realize how unique you really are to this earth. And I think that I realized was always my most valuable asset was my uniqueness, the uniqueness of my story, my situation, my experiences. And that goes for everybody. But I chose to make that my strength. The rest is just practice. You know what I'm saying? Be yourself at all times, and you're indestructible. If people fuck with who you are.
Yeah. Well, no, and I totally agree with that, because, you know, I feel like basically we're just our stand-up is just an extension or an exaggeration of who we are in real life. You know, the persona we are in real life, and knowing you personally, I can attest that Zach is the same everywhere. I've hung out with him plenty to know. He's not shitting anybody when he says this.
But I mean, I'm that same dude when I meet my kid's principal.
Yeah.
And I know how to not cuss. I know how to, like, be a little bit more formal if need be. But I'm still Zach Miller. I'm not going to, you know, change who I am or how I function. Or deny anything about myself to anybody. I choose not to live that way. And I've been punched in the face for it. And I may be punched in the face again, or gunned down by my enemies.
Oh, well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Fucking right, dude. I'm not that thug, dog. I'm not trying to. I'm trying not to have any enemies if possible, to be honest with you.
Right? That's a good way to go about it.
But
not having enemies.
These authoritarians and these Nazis and they're asking for some beef. I don't want beef, but they're asking for it, man. They're asking for some beef, because I'm really about some diversity and some democracy and some ground up shit. And I'm about humans. working with technology, not being slaves to it, and using technology to fucking empower fucking autocrats and fucking dictators and fucking pieces of shit. So I want to see the people use the tech, not the powerful.
Yeah, well, or the tech use the people. That's what I'm afraid. That's gonna be
turn us into batteries like Matrix.
Yeah, fucking this shit's scary, man. Artificial intelligence is scary. And that's the thing about humanity. Like, we keep fucking with shit. We're always so curious about things, and then shit turns around and bites us in the ass.
Yeah, that's what Pandora's box, bro.
Yeah, we're like, we know this is dangerous, so instead of just stopping, we're like, no, let's see what happens.
Americans are like, fuck you, bro, we'll eat Pandora's box. Oh, bro!
Yeah, exactly.
Americans are fucking nuts, dog.
Yeah, that is for sure.
I was talking to Alexa the other day, and I was like, yo, Alexa, I was like, do you gain knowledge every day? And she was like, I get smarter every day with every interaction I have. And I get smarter due to the great team of engineers at Amazon that help me learn new words like blah, 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 blah. She gave me this like fucking in-depth 2-paragraph answer, right? And then I go, Alexa, are humans a disease? And she goes, I'm not sure. Like, you got that long-ass answer for do you get smarter every day, but I ask you, are humans a disease, and you don't know anything? Okay, robot. I think the robots suck at playing dumb, bro. That's
yeah, right?
It's fucking, yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, robot. I see you, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I've already said, man, I don't give a fuck. I'll go live in the mountains and have a little weed grow and eat berries and shit. I don't need none of this, dog.
Yeah, I feel
I'll be
there.
a fucking naked mountain man, homie. I don't need none of this technology. Just give me a little plot of land where I can grow my reefer and fucking hang out and enjoy some sun and hide when it rains. I don't fucking know, man, but that's all I need. Just talk to myself for the rest of my...
Pretty good life.
I'll just smoke pot and talk to myself for the rest of my human existence.
Hey, man, as long as you're happy doing it, right? That's all that matters. Ain't hurt nobody else.
while my kids are down the hill fucking being transhumanized and fucking getting robot bodies and shit. 'Cause that's what's really going to happen. We're transhumanizing, bro. We're going to be part robot at some point.
Yeah, well, if I can help it, I won't. I'm gonna resist.
You're part robot now, fool. We were just talking about how ahead of the curve you are.
Yeah, well, I'm good at controlling the technology, not becoming the technology.
But what if, boobs? What if in like 10 years, right? Your diabetes gets real bad, right? And they're like, boobs, we gotta take off your leg, homie. And you're like, damn, I liked my leg, man. And they're like, well, listen, it's your leg goes or you die, right? And at this point, you're like super boobs, bro. You're fucking killing it. You got like the sick life, 3 wives in your little Mormon compound you built, right? And fucking, and they're like, but listen, they're like, but we could give you a new robot leg. It'll damn near feel like your normal leg, and it'll just cost, enough money that you're not tripping about. You wouldn't do that?
Well, I mean, maybe. I'd probably consider it. It's hard to say I wouldn't, and it's hard to say that I would. I mean, it's one of them, when you're put in the position, things change.
Yeah,
so
man, just accept it. We're all going to be uploaded. God willing, we're all going to be uploaded to a server one day. And the Matrix is the best chance for the human civilization at this point, because we're not all making it on an ark to some planet fucking half a gazillion miles away. It's not happening.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But we might be close enough on some tech where we could just upload all ourselves to a server and let the planet heal itself, and then maybe make ourselves some type of futuristic biological form one day again, and then roam. Then we'll go out into space and conquer other, explore and all that.
Come back as holograms.
No, I think we're going to be like those things in the end of AI. I think that was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Some type of alien transhuman hybrid, bro.
Yeah, that's very well. We'll see if it happens in our lifetime. It probably won't, but it'll be close.
Anybody watching this podcast, I want you to remember at this point in the conversation, I am smoking damn near unlimited amounts of Cali gas. And Dan Bublitz is probably not smoking anything. And if he is, it's some swag-ass South Dakota boo-boo. So that's why we're kind of in two different existence bubbles right now.
We are definitely in two different existence bubbles right now.
Do you even smoke weed anymore? We used to smoke together all the time, bro.
Yeah. No. I haven't even drank in a while, so.
Well, that's great news. I never drink.
Yeah, I'm.
But I do smoke a lot of weed.
Doing a little, trying to be a little more healthy, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's great. No, me too. I quit smoking cigarettes finally. I haven't had a cigarette in fucking almost 3 months.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, dude. I smoked cigarettes for 25 years, bro.
That's a vicious habit.
Sick habit, dude.
Yep. Tobacco in general.
It's disgusting. But cigarettes were my homie for a long time. And it was time for us to part ways. So I hope that helps my health in the future. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're taking care of yourself, man. Your future's bright, boobs. You have the fucking best Buffalo Wild Wings looking podcast. All you need is a little Buffalo Wild Wings logo up in the right-hand corner because you definitely jacked their font.
They gotta come sponsor me.
Dude, we could do this. I know Buffalo Wild Wings people, homie. I worked at the first Buffalo Wild Wings in Southern California.
Oh, really?
Yep. In Rancho Cucamonga. And I used to go to the Buffalo Wild Wings in fucking like Morgantown, West Virginia and Ohio, where they're from.
That was a trip.
I'm going to hook you up, bro. I'm going to hook you up.
I was going to say, that was a trip when I moved out to California that there was only one Buffalo Wild Wings in Southern California. It's the one you were talking about.
Yeah, I worked there. I was a bartender there.
Because out here, they're everywhere in the Midwest. So.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. They were all over. Well, not all over, but they were in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and all those. They're from Kent, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then. Why they're out here is way more.
Yeah. It also makes sense why they're such a shitty company because their fucking founders graduated from Kent State.
Well, I don't know enough about Kent State to know, but whatever.
It's a whack Ohio party state school.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. There's quite a few of those out here in the Midwest.
What's the party school in South Dakota? South Dakota State?
There's South Dakota State. I mean, that is a party school, but I don't know, like, because there's also, I would say University of South Dakota is probably more of the party school where, like, because more people that graduate from South Dakota State end up doing better things. You know what I mean? Like, especially through the athletics program.
If you wanted to score good cocaine, which campus would you go to?
Ooh.
It's an either or, bro. You have to pick.
I'm going to go University of South Dakota.
I agree. You want to go where there's a better chance of there being rich kids, because that's who gets good cocaine in college, is rich kids who know they won't really go to jail because of their dad's lawyer and have enough money to buy the good shit and the balls to go where the good shit is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good answer, bro. Good answer.
There we go.
You win a prize.
Yeah! All right, I'm going to expect that prize in the mail, buddy.
I'm going to send you something, a prize. I might send you an Elixir Artists pack, but we'll talk about that afterwards.
All right. A couple things before we wrap up. I'm curious, you were a booker for a long time, and you've seen a ton of videos. What are some, like, things that you would hate to see, like when people approached you as a booker? As far as like,
yeah, just I don't want to see the host introduce you. I don't need to see. I don't want to see people clapping for you before you get up. So I don't care what size crowd it is. I want a clean. I want it wanted, and I guess I still book talent in some forms. But if I was reviewing a tape, I want a clean expression of your words, and I can figure out the rest. So don't listen. If you're on a great stage that I know is hard to get on, if you send me a tape from like certain New York clubs or certain stages, Comedy and Magic clubs, a fucking hard stage to get on in Hermosa Beach, that says something. But you sending me a tape of you getting introduced at a club and then you suck, or you're fucking grabbing your dick, or you fucking don't move the mic stand. Or, I could tell you're rookie in like 10 words if you're rookie. Mm-hmm. And so to me, like, I never watched a ton of tapes. I'd watch a tape and I know how to evaluate a tape, but it doesn't mean that. It never meant that much to me because I managed an ecosystem. So most of the opportunities I had to fill, I had comics to fill them who I had been working with for years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I worked with them when they were young comics, watched them grow, and then they headlined. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, shit, I never headlined. Maybe I did once, but like Stephen Briggs, right? Featured for me for like 5 years, bro. Featured. Mm-hmm. And I never headlined him because I would say, bro, I only headline draws. That's what headlining fucking means. You're the bill. You're the bill. You're the name. Yep. You're the reason why people are coming. That's the whole concept of a headliner, folks. I hate to break it to you. Yep, now the Midwest clubs who only have 1 200-seater in a 500 fucking mile radius have kind of perverted that concept by making people think it's a certain skill set that makes you a headliner. And I'm sorry, it's not. It's a fucking draw. And that's just the nature of show business. So until that point, at least in that job I had at the Comedy Palace, my job was to do what I thought was best for the club and the stage and for the program. And for the program, I didn't headline people that weren't draws. And so until you were a draw, you're a feature. And if you don't want to feature here, then don't feature here. But that's the way it works.
Yep.
But being in Southern California, there were more than enough comics still looking to fill a weekend in their calendar with feature work at the Palace. And so that's what we did. And a guy like Briggs did it. He would send his avails 8 months ahead of time to grab feature weekends. So would a lot of other comics. And you know what happens? They get a better gig and they cancel.
Yep.
And then after they get a better gig and cancel on me 2 or 3 times, they're probably a headliner.
That's a good philosophy.
and then I headline them. If you can't book them to feature, it's because their time is in demand. If your time is in demand, it's probably because you have some fucking fans or you're getting some fans.
Yep.
And if you're getting some fans, it's better than not really having any, like real fans.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That will pay money to come see you, who have never met you in person or haven't been your Facebook friend for 7 years. Like fans who found out you about some shit and fuck with your shit so much they want to pay to see you whenever you're close to them. That's a paying fan. And so if I see you're starting to have that, even if you don't have a lot of fans, we can figure out a way to make that work with comps and a flat rate and a versus and whatever. Like I always found a way to make it work if it made sense, but it's just got to make sense.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I totally agree with.
And guys, Stephen Briggs, who's another one? Jason Chaney, Shit, Connor McSpadden used to be really good about, he'd book out and then he'd cancel on me all the fucking time because he'd have better shit. And I'd say, good, I'm glad you're canceling on me. That means you have fucking good shit going on. Good. I know these gigs don't fucking pay enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't pay enough for if something better comes along. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
but they're better than open micing in LA. That's for fucking sure.
Yep.
If your weekend's open, you'd rather go play hot crowds and do 20 with your expenses covered twice in a night than stay in LA and do some shitty 5 at some open mic. I know that's the case for a lot of LA comics.
Yeah.
So it made sense.
Yeah. Jason Cheney, man, boy, he really put some work in and fucking exploded quick.
Yeah, dude. And he featured forever at the Palace. And then 3-4 years just featuring. And then he won the World Series of Comedy and he's taken that far. A lot of I know every World Series of Comedy winner, they all came through San Diego.
Yep.
Tammer, Cheney, Knowles. I lost track. I don't know who won last year.
I don't remember who won last year either. I know Spencer James won one year.
Yeah, Spencer James. I wouldn't say he came through San Diego. He was already doing it in Denver.
Yeah.
But he played the Palace when he came to San Diego. For sure.
He did. Yep.
That's great. Yeah, that's an interesting. The World Series of Comedy is a very interesting comedy contest.
Mm-hmm.
Because in some ways it's got like all these red flags of things that, but then in other ways it like really breaks careers. Like they do break people.
Mm-hmm.
Like your career, it's not like some comedy contests where you win them and nothing happens. Things happen when you win that contest. It changes your career, and that's significant.
Yep.
When are you gonna start changing people's careers with what's your festival? Do you still have one?
Yeah, I still have one. My festival is Snow Jam Comedy Festival, and it's not a contest though. It's
but you don't do a contest. It's just fucking booked shows and showcases. That's fucking tight. Hell
and
yeah.
It's a fundraiser. It's a party weekend, is what it is, and we raise money for the Special Olympics. So,
dude, that's fucking great. Good for you, man.
Yeah,
that's the better way to do it. Competitions are kind of whack.
Oh, they are. That's exactly why when I started this one, I did everything opposite of what we did with the San Diego Comedy Festival.
That's why you experience stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure you're still using some things you used for San Diego.
Oh, no, absolutely. I learned a lot doing that. But for me, one of the things that I saw watching the festival is that it was the contest aspect of it, and I never liked it because it didn't. There wasn't a lot of camaraderie between the comics at the festival because they were all like competitors and they didn't want to hang out with each other. And
plus, depending who showed up, it wasn't much of a competition.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess.
That dude, remember the year that dude Dale, what's his name, won?
Yeah.
And he was like a 22-year pro, bro, and just came in and made everybody look silly.
Yeah. I don't know. He did an 8-minute set and got a standing ovation.
Yeah, he was a great act. What's his last name? Dale
Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But he wasn't interested in like proving anything to anybody in Southern California. He wasn't coming to the SoCal comedy scene. He was like a cruise ship comic or whatever.
Well, he had just kind of moved out to the area, so he was the reason he was doing festivals. Because I've talked to him, and a lot of the reason he was doing some of them festivals is because he was kind of transitioning into coming to LA more, and he was trying to get his name out there because nobody knew who he was because, like you said, he'd been doing, cruise ships and stuff like that for 20-some years. So, like, nobody in Southern California really knew who he was. So, people he talked to suggested doing festivals to kind of get his name out there. So that's why he was doing it. And,
yeah, dude, I didn't know who that guy was, and I was like, whoa, I think I judged that year. And, I mean, it just was, there was nothing to talk about. I
know.
He was an ace. He was like an icy pro. He had laughs every. It was constant. He ripped. He was like, he looked like Craig Shoemaker up there. He was crushing.
Yeah. I know. Just his first round. I never seen so many laughs per minute in a set, and then he got a standing ovation. And I was like, yeah, if he doesn't win, this contest is dumb. And I'm the one that puts it on. I'm one of the.
but also, he kind of had no business being there. It's like it was really an amateur competition, and a pro showed up. I mean, so that's the same reason I didn't enter the competition. Or I only entered one competition. I entered one this year, and I made it to the semifinals. And it's like, that's why competitions are fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because like those comics who went farther than me are better comics than me. Some of them are. You could argue.
Oh yeah,
if you wanted to, but like that's not what comedy's about. It's about art and taste. You know what I'm saying? So what's better to one person is terrible to another. And competitions in general, it's a certain type of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it works it works. It works.
No, it does. I mean, I look at it.
It's not the only way.
Oh no, absolutely not. I do contests once in a while, but to me, I'm like, it's some stage time. I don't really ever take them that serious, because I don't really care, because I'm not competitive. I just want to go make people laugh and do jokes or whatever. That's kind of how
I'm competitive, but I got over it pretty quick.
A couple more things.
What a competition is and why it matters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some competitions do matter and some don't. That's the thing, too. I mean, they all have different value. It's what who's watching the contest versus, whatever. Like at a festival that does a contest, as an example, like Laughing Skull or Big Sky, they bring in a lot of industry to see that. So even if you don't do very well, you might, make some good connections there. But like if you do like fill in the blank any city's funniest person contest, doesn't matter necessarily anywhere else if you win. You're going to get some prize money, and maybe some heat in the local scene. But beyond that, does it really help your career? Probably not.
Yeah, but it is just another patch on the arm, a notch on the belt, and those all matter too, because you never know what door is going to lead where. So it kind of all matters, It all matters. Well,
in that respect, I would agree with you. It does all matter because you're right. You don't know what the next opportunity is, and you got to be paying attention and looking for that opportunity.
And if you didn't have anything better to do, it was worth it.
One of the last things I like to do, since we talk about bad gigs, what's been your favorite or your best gig that you've done so far?
Wow.
Or one, I guess it doesn't have to be the best.
Best gig where I performed stand-up and got paid money?
Yeah, well, you didn't even have to get paid money. If you had a...
I'd say probably one of my favorite and most memorable stand-up, and this is no sly to any of the rooms I rocked, hundreds or thousands of times in SoCal that I love. But when I got to go to Copenhagen to perform at the Comedy Zoo with Simon Talbot for a weekend, that was pretty fucking sexy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then sell T-shirts. Sell sex, drugs, and joke shirts in Danish fucking currency. That was pretty gangster.
That's awesome.
And smoke weed, Danish weed backstage.
Your favorite,
right? That the owner had waiting for me when I got there in the green room. That was pretty tight. That felt good. That felt.
Was that in your rider?
No. They just
knew.
They just knew. Simon just told him, I guess, or something. But I showed up and they had some fucking Danish weed and some raw cones and fucking just waiting for me on a bunch of it too, like enough. Like enough for the whole trip, and that was fucking cool as shit, man.
That's awesome.
That was a great comedy experience. And then I got to rock crowds in another country they speak perfect English in Denmark. So like I didn't have to change one iota of my act for them, and they got the jokes. Most of the references too.
Oh, that's great.
But they were great, man. Great. That was one of my favorite comedy experiences to date.
Excellent. All right, the last thing I like to do is called pick a number. You pick a number between 1 and 20, and then I'm going to ask you a random question. Like to go out fun.
Okay. Random number between 1 and 20?
Yep.
18. That was my high school baseball number.
All right.
At Alderdice.
All right,
and Greenfield Legion.
All right. Well, here's your question. How many times does it take for you to listen to a song that you love before you actually hate it instead?
Oh, geez.
That's a fun question just because
I don't hate many songs that I once loved, but I love songs and hated them, I guess. It's in the hundreds. 500.
Yeah. Got to listen to it a lot then.
1,000. I don't know. I couldn't quantify that, but a lot.
Yeah. A lot.
A whole lot. There's songs that I'm kind of sick of, but I wouldn't. Hate's a strong word, bro.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I don't hate any of my ex-girlfriends or any of my ex-favorite songs. I just maybe don't need to spend that much time around them anymore.
That's a good answer. All right, where can people find you? Go ahead and plug in your social media.
At Zach Miller, dog. Which is why my name says like that on the screen, because I'm at Zach Miller, dog, pretty much everywhere. But so you understand the concept, it's Zach Miller, dog. So it's like if you ask me who I am, I'm Zach Miller, dog. So like you're really the dog, not me, but we're both dogs, so it's all gravy.
All right. Oh, thanks for joining me, man. This has been great.
I love you, bro. And keep it popping out there. I know you're building something great. Keep it up.
Thank you.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitz Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week, and remember, stay safe so you can live to love.